First, Dr. Evelyn Murphy, who is an economist and the president of the Wage Project, a national organization to end wage discrimination in the workplace. She is also the author of Getting Even, Why Women Still Don't Get Paid Like Men and What to Do About It, which was published in the year 2005. In 1986, Dr. Murphy was elected Lieutenant Governor of Massachusetts. She was the first woman in the state's history ever to serve in any constitutional office. After that, she entered the private sector as the Executive Vice President of Blue Cross Blue Shield. She is now a resident scholar at the Women's Research Center at Brandeis University. She received her BA and PhD from Duke University and her MA from Columbia University. Thank you for coming, Dr. Murphy.
As an economist, I've been interested in the gender wage gap for over 4 decades. Over those years, as I watched more and more women graduating from college and entering and working all of their lives, I just assumed that we would catch up with men's wages. So in the mid-1990s, when we had not, it shocked me. I have been single-mindedly scrutinizing the wage gap ever since. My book, Getting Even, reveals the extent to which this discrimination permeates the entire United States economy. You can read about employers of all kinds who in recent years had to pay women employees to settle, or former employees, to settle claims of gender discrimination. Even with those consequences, our current laws have not ended workplace discrimination. There continue to be barriers to hiring and promoting qualified women, financial penalties imposed arbitrarily on pregnant women, sexual harassment by bosses and coworkers, failure to pay women for the same job as much as men, and biases and stereotyping, which may seem slight at the moment when it sets back a woman, yet also cuts into her paycheck. Inequitable treatment takes money out of a woman's paycheck, which accumulates over years into serious financial losses. A young woman who graduates from high school last spring will make $700,000 less than the young man standing next to her getting his high school diploma. A woman who graduated from college will miss $1,200,000 over her working life. And a woman with an MBA, a law degree, or a medical degree will miss $2 million compared to the man getting his degree with her. We in Congress, you in Congress, policy analysts, researchers, all of us, have yet to adequately understand and address the gender wage gap. Statisticians, try as they might, have not been able to fully, quote, explain the gap. Why is that after all this time? Isn't it time to conclude that we are looking at inadequate data to explain the gap? The gender gap is not just about worker characteristics that we get from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the Census Bureau. It's about workplace characteristics. And it's time to collect data as extensively about workplaces as about workers. This bill is important because it finally points public attention in the right place, the American workplace, and initiates an expanded collection of workplace data. Prompt passage is important. Recently, the Wage Project did a survey, and it used the National Women's Group's National Committee on Pay Equity, the BPW, the YWCA, the AAUW, and used their outlets. 800 women responded to this survey. And while this is not a random survey, I will tell you that their voices give you a window into what they're experiencing today and the kind of discrimination and pay inequities. The loudest message in that survey is that women fear retaliation when they talk about their pay at work. The non-retaliation clause in Section 3 will help many women who now fear firing or demotion. One college-educated woman in her late 40s said, "About 3 years ago, I worked for a major corporation in a supervisory capacity. My staff was 47 people, and my colleague's staff was 12. The salary he made was $28,000, and mine was $22,500. The vice president advised me that if I told what I found out, I could be fired. The fear factor is real. This bill will help women now silenced by the fear of retaliation. And besides, fair-minded employers should want employees who suspect that their pay is unfair to raise the questions now before suspicion hardens into grievances and lawsuits and erodes their productivity." 3 out of 4 women in this survey reported that they had recently had some experience with unfair treatment or pay. Passage of this bill will give them a sense that, in fact, the inequities in their workplace may get better and improve so they don't have to leave their jobs. A 37-year-old caseworker in a nonprofit organization said they hired a man whom they paid more, and she was to train that man. She decided to do that and left her job afterwards, discouraged. It costs women money when they have to leave their jobs because they are not paid or treated fairly. They lose their seniority, and they may take a pay cut in order to get their salaries. For women whose employers adopt the guidelines from the Secretary of Labor, these are women who will know that not only is unequal pay now not the law and not sanctioned by law, but also pay equity will be ingrained in the workplace and the culture of their workplace as well as the practices. Every employer should adopt these regulations. That's the surest way to get from here to every American workplace having pay equity in the near future. And speaking of the future, and since I've got a red light, let me just say this. I hope you pass this bill soon because of the unintended legacy if we don't. That is, if we don't do something. I mean, it's clear after all these years that we haven't eliminated the pay gap and can't with the laws that we now have. If we don't do something, you pass on what women now lose to your daughters and granddaughters. It's a lousy legacy. It's one you don't want or we don't want. But if we don't do something about it, that's the legacy we'll pass on.